Okay. So we are continuing animations today, wrapping up basic animations talk. First off, we'll do a transition animation, right? Using an image, we'll transition to a different image using some sort of transition animation there. Then we'll go off, we'll create a next tab, animating keyframes. So we'll have some image and we'll have different types of, or different positions that image goes to. So we'll create a series of animations using animate keyframes. And lastly, we'll talk about UI View Property Animator, which basically animates based on fractions. So what we'll do, we'll create a slider, and as the slider moves forward and backwards, we'll animate some object based on whatever animation we want there, okay? So continuing on our existing app, if we run our app, let's see the state of it. So currently we have two tabs. The first tab has simple animations. Second tab has constraints animations. I move some object up using constraints. I move the object back down using constraints. So we'll go ahead and we'll add in a third tab to deal with transition animations. So let's go off to create that. Let's create a controller. So in our controllers folder, let's click on create a new file, CocoaTouch class, and the name of it will be, let's call it transition, zoom in, transition animations controller. It's a subclass of UI View Controller. It's called Transition Animations. I'll copy Transition Animations. That way we could create a storyboard with the same name. So Transition Animations Controller, subclass of UI View Controller. I'll click on Create here. And I'll go create a storyboard for it. So I right-click, create new file, and create a storyboard this time. Storyboard, file. And my name will be Transition Animations, okay? The name of the storyboard is Transition Animations. As I said, like when you're working on your group project starting tomorrow, you as a group will decide, do you want this done in storyboard or programmatic? And you could work either or, but separating them up will cause less merge conflicts. But we'll see what that looks like as we get into our first group project. So here we have transition animations, and we have our storyboard. Great. So in our storyboard, let's go create a scene. Get a view controller. Get a view controller. Let's give it our name here. So go to our identity inspector. Go to our class area here. And we are calling it animations, or is it transition animations? Transition animations controller. Press enter and copy that string and paste it into our storyboard ID. Press enter. Great. So here we have our scene. What does our scene need for now? We'll get an image view. Image view. And we'll make a square like we've been doing. I will first center it horizontally and vertically. Then I'll go ahead and control drag. I'll control drag from my image view over to my super view, and I'll select equal width, okay? Next, I will control drag from the image view itself to itself. Image view, I'll change it later, we'll just do it together. So height, aspect ratio, great. And at this point, we'll go to, as Tiffany says, to the size inspector, and we'll update our values. So my width, I'll edit my width to be 0.5, and I'll edit my ratio to be 1:1. Exclamation 1:1. Okay, cool. Great. Now we need images. We need images. Okay, let me get images. Images. We got one image. Oh no. Wi-Fi, don't let us down. All right, one image. While this is downloading, we have a second image as well. Did I hear yes? Okay. I take it you're a cat person. Okay. Second image. Cool. So we have a dog and a cat. Awesome. I'll go to my assets folder while you guys are downloading the image, and I'll add in my dog and cat. So I have a cat and I have a dog. And also at some point we'll get a duck and we'll get a beach ball. So we'll get our beach ball, and we'll get lastly a duck. Cool, great. Okay, so we have the 4 assets. We have a ball, cat, dog, duck. Feel free to use your own images. Okay, going back to our storyboard for our transition animations, we'll start off with some image. Not this guy. We'll start off with a dog. We could even give it a background color. So background color, I'll say system green. Okay. And let's connect outlets to this particular dog. Get our assistant open. Assistant is open, and let's go ahead and control drag our image view over to our controller. So control drag image view over, and I'll simply call it image view. Press enter. Okay, cool. Continuing on, how are we doing with the downloads? Are we close? We done? Good Wi-Fi today? Okay, excellent. Excellent. All right, so we have our outlet. Let's go ahead and set up our animation. Actually, does it even show? First, it needs to show in our app, right? If we run our app right now, our tab is not magically there. Right, we still have 2 tabs, correct? Okay, so let's go ahead and create that 3rd tab. Where are we going to create that 3rd tab? Tab bar controller. Very good. Cool. So we in our tab bar controller. This just looks so much more code when you see it so big, like right in your face. Okay, we'll just go ahead and copy this. copy the storyboard instance that we have and paste it in, and we'll change the name to say transition animations VC. We're in our tab controller subclass. We just renamed the one we just copied to transition animations VC. All right, so far we have how many tabs? This one comes from code, right? There's no storyboard. Second one comes from storyboard. This guy comes from storyboard. And the third one comes from storyboard as well. Yeah. We could write a function for it, but the function itself, you still have to end up writing like some code to downcast it anyway. So for now, that's fine. But the type is not constraints, right? What's the type? Transition, right? Very good. Transition controller. You could go ahead and copy that string. Let's move this here. Get instance from storyboard. What's the storyboard name? Transition without a controller. So this one is getting the storyboard from the one we created, correct? That first line says, get me the storyboard instance. Right here we have it, get instance of storyboard. Great. Step 2 says, now I want to go ahead and downcast to the storyboard I expect. Or sorry, to the view controller I expect. What view controller do we expect? A transition animations controller. And the ID should be the same. So here we have transitions controller, and the ID is transitions controller as well. That's the same ID that we have in storyboard. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? Okay, we're just doing basically the same that we did earlier. Okay, cool. Next up, we gotta set up our tab bar item. We will call it, let's just call it transitions here. And we will give it circle 3, and we'll give it tag 2. Okay. And what else do we need to do now? What else do I need to do? I need to add it to the view controller array. Everybody? Right now, how many objects do we have in our array? 2. So we have 2 tabs. So we need to go create a third tab. And our third tab is transition. Okay. Yes, with code, it's more code, but it's the same thing that we do in a storyboard, right? In a storyboard, if you have a tab bar and you add it in a new scene, you have to connect it, right? That connection there is that array. Everybody with me? Cool. So let's run it and see what we have. If we have any crashes, that means our IDs are wrong. I click on my third tab and I see my dog image. So it should be able to see our dog image when we click on the third tab. Majid, how you doing? You have an error. So it might be a storyboard ID error. Question? Yeah, the tag is now 2. What is the error? View did load. We did not implement a new view did load. You should have only one view did load in your tab controller subclass. Antonio, double check Majid's computer. Anybody else not seeing the dog image on the third tab? Good? Okay, cool. All right, so let's continue on. Great, great, great. Let's go to our controller and write some code. So in our controller, our transitions animations controller, we have access to our image view. Great. In our viewDid load, we'll start off with a default image. So the default image we have, so default image, just say set default image. Default image we have, so image view dot image equal to UI image named dog. And we'll have a color. We'll say view that background color equal to system green. That's fine. Next up, what do we have? We have some sort of function we'll write to animate. So private function animate. Okay, and what do we want to do? How do we want to trigger that animation? We want to trigger that animation with a tap. We want to trigger that animation with a tap gesture. Okay, so we'll go ahead. We'll create some. We'll create a tap gesture. We'll create a tap gesture here. So create tap gesture, and we'll say it's a private lazy bar tap gesture of UI tap gesture equal to let gesture equal to UI tap gesture recognizer return gesture. We'll update our animate function to be Objective-C. And we'll say here, gesture dot add target. Yulia, what's target here? What's the value of target? On line 18, self, right? So self, just because our view controller is the one responding to that tap, right? So here we have target is ourself. And again, this is similar to control drag. If you control and drag it from a button, we'll give it a selector. So the selector is where we need that Objective-C. You see here, I type in selector, and it's looking for an Objective-C method. Okay? So here we'll pass it animate. Okay, so that's step one. What else do I need to do here? What's the next step? I created some gesture. What's the next step? I want to set up the gesture such that when I tap on the image, my animate function gets called. Again, when I tap on the image, my animate function gets called. What else do I need to do in setting up that tap gesture? Yes, Chelsea? A what? There's no delegate here. It's not a delegate. Close, but not a delegate. There's a property you need to set there. Not a property, a function. Eric? Brendan? Not a Boolean per se. We have the gesture, right? We have the tap gesture, it exists. Right? Now, go ahead, sir.
You have to enable user interaction and add the gesture.
Very good. So what Matt says is I need to enable user interaction on the image. And I need to add gesture to the image view. Yes? Why is the image what? The image cannot respond to a function. You could have an image class, subclass, but you need somewhere to have that function written. And the function that we wrote was animate. Right? So wherever that animate function is, that's where the target is. What we're creating is not for anywhere on the view controller, it's only for the image. When the user clicks on any part of the image, the animate function will get called. The target here in that instance, good question. The target is where is that function? Where is that animate function? Where does it live? Okay? Good question. Because remember, when we control drag in, like you have your storyboard file, you control drag, right, from a button, Chelsea? I control drag from my scene to a view controller. So the target is the control drag, where I'm control dragging to. Right? That's where the function will be. Cool? Very good. Okay, so we have our animate, and please remember, if you have a gesture, recreating this gesture there doesn't say anything. We just declare the gesture, but we haven't done anything to the gesture. Where you want to have that gesture being triggered, whether it be the view, as Tiffany was saying, not Tiffany, sorry, Chelsea, whether it be the view, if I want to say view have a tap on it, I add it to the view. If I want that gesture to be on an image view, I add it to the image view, okay? So remember, we wrote the steps, right? We said step 1, create the tap gesture. Step 2, go ahead and add it to the view. And if it's an image view or a label, the interaction enabled is false by default. That's why we have to do what Matt said and enable user interaction. So enable user interaction on an image view or a label as those two UI elements are set to false by default. At this point, we have to experiment with things we see in lecture for it to stick, not just labs, right? Even if the lab didn't ask you for a tap gesture, just experiment with the thing, right? Like if I add a tap gesture on my collection view, what does it do? Whatever, right? Maybe I tap on it and it reloads the thing, right? Maybe that's something I add. Like just to test, because that's the only way, right? When kids have toys, they break it to see how it works. Then they put it back together and they become engineers, right? Hopefully my daughter doesn't do that too much in the house. She's getting there. So enable user interaction on the image. So let's do that. So we have image view dot is user interaction enabled equal to true. So at this point, what does that mean? That means the user could interact with this image view. They could give it actions or trigger actions. Next, yeah. Yes. If we wanted to make it to the view, we'll do view here. Well, not view, sorry. No. This does not make it specific to the image view. We haven't done that part yet, sorry. Right, the next part is where it makes it sit specific to the image view. The next part that says add gesture to image view. That part just enables interactions, right? Because even if you add a gesture and this is false, your animate function won't get triggered. Okay, so be careful there. Like if you have some view beneath your image view and the image view itself doesn't enable interactions, you could have weird behaviors happening there. So know how you lay out your views too and what gestures you have on what view. But the first place to go is in user interaction enabled on the thing you have the tap on. Next, we will go ahead and do Chelsea's point here and say add gesture recognizer. And here you could have any gesture recognizer, right? But the gesture recognizer we add into the image view is a tap gesture. So Chelsea, this is where your question is being answered. We're making the tap specific to the image view. If we wanted to make it specific to the entire view, we'd say view.add gesture recognizer. For example, if you want to add a tap gesture to your view when the keyboard comes up, you don't have to necessarily do should return, or you could also do should return and also a tap gesture, as I said yesterday, because the user is accustomed to clicking anywhere outside of that keyboard to dismiss the keyboard. So in your animate, you just say resign first responder or whatever it is.
And like if it was for the entire view, that would be good for like
Yeah, that would be like a pinch, yes. So you could have a pinch gesture on the entire view, and that enables the entire view to be pinchable. Yes. You could have multiple gestures, yes. But be careful how you're having that multiple, like what are you trying to go for. Like for our map, not map, for our map yesterday, we could have two gestures on that. We could have pinch, and we could have pan. This one we don't need, we only want to tap. That's all we want to do. When we tap, we just want to animate the thing. We don't want to have anything extra. But you could have a swipe. When it swipes, it does the animation instead. You see what I'm saying? Actually, we could probably experiment with that too. Like swipe it, swipe left. Maybe we do that, right? We could, that's what I'm saying, like the canvas is limitless with animations of what you could do. The knowing part is like our job to let you guys know what's possible. And so far we know there's 6 ways we could have gestures on our views. Cool. All right, so we added it there. Great. So we did that. Next, when this animate thing gets triggered, let's first just print. As we always do, just make sure this is getting called. Don't go writing your whole animation block and then you're missing a step, right? So just confirm that when I tap on it, animate does come up. So I'll go ahead and run the app. And I'll click on my transitions. I'll click on, oh, wait. What did we do there? This should be image view. I'm like, why is my whole thing green? All right, so click on my transition, and if I tap on this guy, verify that you have animate in the console. Step 1, yes?
Can we add it to just image view?
Can we add what to the image view?
Gesture.
It's only to the image view.
We did view.
We did view. Oh, that was a sample.
So image view.
Yeah, image view, sorry. I was just showing, thank you. I was just showing the difference there. But yeah, only add it to the image view. So when you go back to your image view, if I click on my view, nothing happens, right, everybody? But if I click on my image view, it should show animate.
So this would be the case where we want like the keyboard is specific.
Yes, it will be the view, right? Very good. Yeah. Like the 2 popular ones like you'll use all the time is like long press and tap, right? Those are big, like you want to do something, like long press is everywhere, and tap just gets stuff done, right? Like actions. Okay, cool. So we have our animate coming up. Great. Next step, everybody has the animate getting printed, correct? Yes? Okay, let's go ahead and actually make our transition now. Okay, so we start off by saying if image view dot image equal to UI image dog. If it's a dog, print dog. Else print cat, for example. Named. Just change this. Say UI image. Image view dot image equal to UI image named cat. And this is dog. Build. Okay, basically we're doing a swap here. So if it's a dog, change it to a cat, else change it to a dog. Okay, run. going back to our transitions, it's a dog, we have a cat, we have a dog, right? Okay, so that's okay before animations. But now we have animations. We could create an animation for this. So as we change in the image, we'll have some sort of transition happening between the dog image and the cat image. Does everybody have the images changing? All right, perfect. So let us go ahead and continue on. So first we'll have a block here. We'll start off by saying UI view dot transition. And we want to transition. You could transition from one view to a next view, but in our case, we transition in with the same view. Everybody with me, right? So when you come to like adding subviews or changing subviews, instead of changing subviews abruptly, you could change subview A to subview B with some sort of transition. But for now, we have one view dealing with. So we'll say from. And my from view is image view here. Oh, sorry. I had to do with. So we're doing with, sorry. Transition with image view, duration, let's do 1 second. Options, empty array for now, we'll come back to it. Animations, this is where we put our animations block. Animations block, go here. And next we'll have nil for now for the completion. Cool. So this is what a transition animation looks like. And for the options, this comes in very useful. We'll give it some sort of transition. You could say transition curl up, like curl the thing up like a book. Curl down. You could say flip from top, right? You could say flip from right or left. You could say cross dissolve. Cross dissolve is like a fade. You could say flip from right, flip from bottom, right? So all those you could play with as you do your animation stuff. So here we will say we have our view, we'll flip from right. So we'll say flip from right here. And our animations code will go here. Self. Yeah, exactly. How come we have to do self? Yes, we are in a closure. Okay, cool. So we have that block. Let's copy that block of code. Copy the entire animation block and put it in our else block here. And we'll do it flip from left. And this is a dog. So we have two transitions happening. One where we flip from right, and the other we flip from left. If you want, you could keep the transitions the same. Again, this is like a playground there. Like really be your own person, have your own sense there, your own taste of animations added, and play with it, right? Okay, let's see what we have. We run the app. We go to our transition. We click on it. It flips the image. We click on it again. It flips the image. Right? Awesome. We could also animate the color, right? So here, this guy has some color. We could say self.imageView.background color equal to give the color some color here. I'll just say system bleu, some color, and our dog gets its green. So we go back to our image, click on it, it's blue, click on it, right? Cool. You could also change the curve. Remember we spoke about the curves. How many curves do we have? We have 4 curves, right? So we could change the curve, how it happens. Let's experiment with this here. we could say, actually, let's make some variables or constants. We'll make a constant called duration of type double, and we'll say default 1.5, and we will say curve option is of type UI view dot options equal to, so we have 4, right? So we could do curves in and out, just play with that. And instead of hard coding those numbers, we could put duration here. We could put duration here. For our curve, we could put in curve option. And for here as well, we could put in curve option. So right now we're only changing it one place, right? Does that make sense? Yes? So we have our duration and we have our curve option. So we said curve is and out. Let's see what that looks like. So curves is and out, or curve is in and out says start slow, have linearly, and then end slow as well. So that's what curves in and out does. So here I click on it, slow, and slowly, right? It's like a slow transition. We could make it slower still. We could say 2 seconds. Right? And move it again. All right. As I said, it's our playground to test what our animations, what we want the end result to be. But as you see, there's so many parameters you could add on the thing. It's beautiful. Cool? Any questions? Do we all have our animation working? Yes. I basically, instead of hard coding the numbers here, we created a constant. Because right now we have multiple blocks here. But they both will have the same option regardless of whether it be curves in. So what did we say? We have curves in, out. What else we have? We have curve is in. We have curve is out. And what else do we have? And we have curve linear. Right? Those are the curves we have plus the one we just put in here. So those are the 4 custom curves we have, or built-in. Those are the 4 built-in curves. So 4 built-in Bezier animation curves. Do we all have our transition animations? Any question? You typing it right? Okay, cool. Mel, is your transition working? Storyboard. Okay, we're taking a break, so we will be good there. All right, so we'll stop here, and we'll come back, and we'll deal with animating keyframes and UI view property animator. So we'll stop here and continue.